Hey, deserving listeners, Love is Blind. Let's see what happens.
That's really wild. I'm a project.
I saw you as a project.
Okay.
You have not been in a real relationship before. You also say that you're not emotionally available at times. I've been in relationships before. I have that experience, so I saw you.
What do you think you're a fucking puppeteer? And I'm.
Yeah, she's justified in saying that. Yeah. The sentiment isn't pathological necessarily. It'd be nothing wrong with him saying like, so he says, you haven't been in real relationships before. And maybe she even said that. Maybe she even said that to him. It's like, I haven't been in a real relationship. But there's so many other ways to word it. And either he is hurt and he's trying to insult her and he's done with the relationship, or this is literally the way he thinks consciously. I don't know.
Or you also say that you're not emotionally available at times. I've been in relationships before. I have that experience, so I saw you.
What do you think you're a fucking puppeteer? And I'm a puppet?
No.
I'm gonna get my wrist machine.
Another possibility is that for over-functioning, under-functioning relationships, for codependent, under-functioners relationships, when things get out of control, sometimes there'll be a mechanism from one or both people to reconfigure back to the over-functioning, under-functioning. And you could imagine the over-functioner could even say something like this. It's like, okay, look. Let's just agree you're the screwed up person and I'm here to help you, right? And it might even invite the under-functioner to be like, yeah, okay. Whether or not, it depends on how they respond, but like the person in Jackie's shoes could have been like, well, let's say that he had worded it differently. He's like, why am I with you? Well, I'm with you because you have, you told me that you've been through a lot and I love you and I wanted to be a person in your life that actually showed you that love is worth fighting for, or something a little nicer, less insulting. And then, but the message is still there, right? The message is kind of in the direction of codependency and your project. And that's not necessarily, and then she could, given that nicer approach, could slot into that. It's like, yeah, he is more stable than I am. And maybe that's what's happening right now. So maybe I should defer to him. I should cry and then he should take care of me. And then we can go back to the homeostasis we had. You know what I mean?
Really available at times. I've been in relationships before. I have that experience, so I saw you.
What do you think you're a fucking puppeteer? And I'm a puppet?
No.
I'm gonna get my wrist my shit, bro. Like, I'm a fucking project.
Yeah. She's justified. Because there's almost no charitable or interpretation of that word. Because even if it's altruistic from him, it's very distancing. You're just like, so you're not into me, you just want to fix me. That's why you're with me? Because that's literally what she said. She's like, why are you with me? And he says, well, I'm with you because you're a project. I see someone he's not saying this, but I see someone that's broken and I'm going to fix you. And that's why I'm with you. They're in the middle of a fight, so it's hard to know. Maybe Marshall will recover and say, oh my God, I can't believe I said that. Or maybe they'll even recover as a relationship. It's hard to imagine at this point. It's hard to imagine that they could get the magic back.
I said project, fucking emotions are going, but what I see in you is limitless potential. And I know that I can be that person to bring that out of you.
Okay, good. So he's basically saying project is a bad word. But he's saying that other phrasing that I said earlier, that if you phrase it a little differently, it still could be codependent and under-functioner, but it's more inviting and less insulting. Again, I don't know. If I were to assess them, I might find that this has nothing to do with codependency, and he does love her, and she loves him, and she has bigger issues than he does, and he has a lot of love to give. There's nothing wrong with that. If my wife is going through something and I want to help her with that, maybe even it takes a long time, and I sacrifice myself a little bit because I want to be helpful, that's not codependency. I want to be clear about that, because sometimes on the internet, people will hear a certain sign of something or a symptom of something, and then they overgeneralize that to someone. Say, oh, we just saw that. That person said refer to themselves in the second person or the third person. Therefore, they're a narcissist. It's like, well, no, it's not. It's way more complicated that you really have to, and this is why assessing takes so long. If I were to assess someone with codependent personality, I would probably take 10 to 20 plus weeks to investigate it and assess it. It would take a long time to get a lot of examples, and there'd be a lot of sort of test things that are little things, and it wouldn't be my focus because I'm a treating clinician, meaning that I used to do this work where I would just do assessments and then move on. People would hire me to do psychological assessments, but I'm providing treatment and I'm assessing as I go along, so I don't necessarily spend concentrated time in the beginning of treatment to focus on making sure that I have a really solid conceptualization of the person, because it's not necessary, and it could bother clients that are coming in for the first time if they have a lot of things they want to talk about. Anyway, so there's a version of this where it's not codependency. There's also, I want to be clear, even if it is codependency, it seems on the light side because he is aware of it. He recovered. If he were more codependent, he would say, yeah, you're a project. Let me tell you how you're a project. Look at, you told me this, you told me that, you told me, look, your life is completely screwed up. And my life, that'd be more codependent. That'd be in the controlling, domineering side. So he pulled that word back. He's like, project, oh yeah, I'm upset. That's the wrong word. He's kind of apologizing, not explicitly. He's retracting it anyway. So there's another point to this that I want to make, that even if it is codependency, it's not nefarious. I think a lot of times they will frame codependency as this antisocial, psychopathic, narcissistic thing. In fact, I wonder if people are actually thinking of him as suffering from narcissism because it is a superior position that he seems to be putting himself in. And, maybe, but there's no other signs of that with him, at least from my memory. And there'd have to be a lot of science for me to even suggest that as a possible hypothesis with anyone on these shows. So, because it is way more complicated than people make it out to be. Anyway, so with him, it would be pretty easy to fix this. It's not something that is, it could be this, it could be very nefarious, it could be very controlling, it could be very abusive, it could be very domineering and coercive. It also could be mildly that way, such that if they were to come into therapy and I were to suggest certain things and work with them or another couple of therapists, he would very easily let go of this paradigm that he's in. We just don't know, is my point.
I said, project, fucking emotions are going, but what I see in you is limitless potential. And I know that I can be that person.
I mean, that word, limitless potential, that's what you say about an employee, someone, you're the coach and one of your team, one of the players, or a child. You have so much potential. It puts someone down. It makes you seem superior. It denies your own issues. I'm guessing he has issues. They're just not as out there. It could be hurtful. It could make someone feel broken. There's other language. He's de-escalating at this point, which is good. So I'll give him credit for that.
I said, project, fucking emotions are going, but what I see in you is limitless potential. And I know that I can be that person to bring that out of you.
Now, on the charitable side, maybe she even receives it this way, is he's saying essentially, in the words I would say, is, I believe in you more than you believe in yourself. I know that you've told me that you sometimes don't believe in yourself. I believe in you. I know that you're a wonderful, smart, competent, healthy, strong human being. And I see that in you, and I want to emphasize that. I want to be there cheering you on. So he might be saying that, which could also be codependent. It could also just be a nice thing to say to your partner. She could be receiving it as that. She could also be receiving it as just a tamed down version of you're a project to me. So let's see her response. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. We often talk about a work-life balance, right? But how often do we talk about a balance between time for others and time for ourselves? It's so easy to get caught up in thinking about what everyone else wants from us and never taking the time for ourselves. And of course, therapy can help you with that balance. I mean, just going to therapy is taking time for yourself, right? I've had many clients who will do this. They will come into my office, sit down on my couch, and let out a big sigh of relief because I think for the first time in a week, they're actually taking time to think about what they need. If you're thinking of starting therapy, it's worth giving a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient and suited to your schedule. And also, you can switch therapists at any time at no additional charge. So, find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/Kirk today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Kirk.
Fucking emotions are going, but what I see in you is limitless potential. And I know that I can be that person to bring that out of you. I don't see you as a project. I see you as someone who I can uplift and empower. And I told you that from jump. This is what marriage is. This is what a committed relationship looks like.
So he's fighting for the relationship. I think she's warming up to it. I think her body language suggests that. I don't know. So yeah, there's just a lot of questions. Earlier, I was role-playing a less conflictual version of what he was saying that was still in the codependent zone, and it looked very much like this. So this doesn't mean that we're not still in a more functional, more ongoing, homeostatic side of the codependent pattern between, because the notions are still there. You could say project, but you could also say that she has potential and that he is there to bring that out in her. So, it's potato, kind of. We could still be there. We could also just be in a mild codependent tendency, but that he, I would hope that, not necessarily, but I would hope that all of us with our partners believe in them more than they believe in themselves. Most people have low self-esteem about something anyway. And I would like to think that we all will be that cheerleader for our partner or anyone in our life. I feel like some of the most important moments in my life that's what I am for someone, where I'm there to cheer them on, to highlight the strength that they have, that they can't see in themselves. So there's nothing pathological about that. There's nothing necessarily codependent about that. It's a very altruistic, wonderful thing that is in line with the good side of Marshall that I know. I don't know what it is, though. What do you think it is?
This is what marriage is. This is what a committed relationship looks like. Having tough conversations even when we don't want to. You know exactly how I feel about you. I don't hold anything back. I fucking love you.
Okay, so it's good, I think. If he's trying to salvage the relationship, if he's trying to resolve the conflict, he's doing a lot. She's doing a lot too. Her facial expression is different. She seems receptive. Her arms are crossed, but I think he's interpreting it as she's hearing him. She's not walking off. She's not stonewalling. So they're both doing their part. So maybe they work it out. Maybe they recover and say yes, yes at the altar. You probably already know, since I'm recording this way before the end of the series. Ah, that's nice. It's hard to... I almost want to cry, but then there was so much negativity in that conflict. So, yeah, good. Yeah, it's really nice. It's really good to see. So there's a scenario where all that the content they were talking about initiating sex or being aggressive, it's all just massive exaggerations from both of them, the project word, that emerges in the midst of a conflict. If you had a tape recorder, and some of you will record your conflicts when it's really high with your partner, the kind of shit that will come out of your face, you'll just be like, I said that? I can't believe I said that. Or I can't believe I had that tone of voice. It's just like not how I feel about things. Where did that come from? You get triggered, you get upset, you go back and forth, you escalate, and some pretty awful things come out of your face. And so we're seeing the conflict and we're observing it from this third position where we're not involved. And so it'd be tempting to take everything they're saying as literal. But if everyone took everything as literal and factual and representative of how we actually feel in the middle of a fight, like none of us would have any relationships, because it's really normal to very much exaggerate. Sometimes just say things that don't even make any sense because you're so discombobulated. So I don't know. That could be that, and that would give me hope that they just had an exaggeratory conflict. There's also a possibility that the things they brought up in this fight are present in their relationship, and this is the beginning of them being able to talk about it in a more generally healthy way. This could also be them returning to the homeostasis of she's the underfunctioner and he's the one helping her. This is also a possibility that he's starting to, because he's not codependent or not very codependent, that it's starting to take a toll. Like, so some of you might be able to relate to this, where you're kind of codependent or you used to be more codependent. You're kind of an overfunctioner, but it's not super rigid, and your partner isn't totally underfunctioning and isn't always the under person, but more often maybe it's like a 60-40% overfunctioner, underfunctioner. And in those relationships, they can work. They can be really great. There's pros and cons to that configuration, right? The underfunctioner might even bring out some of the more carefree attitudes from the overfunctioner. And the overfunctioner might help the underfunctioner to be more responsible or something like that. So it could be that, but think about for yourself. If you are in a relationship like this, or you know a relationship like this, or you were in a relationship like this, I hope that me yammering about all the possibilities can give you a starting point to work on in therapy for yourself.
Sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear.
He's one arm hugging her, which bothers me. I'm a two arm hugger, and when people give me a one hug, my wife doesn't do that, but actually Umberto does it to me. So I even told him a couple times, to be like, one arm hug, you're only half happy to see me. I think some people, they're just not used to it, but I don't think he's one of those people. I think he's actually still miffed or something. So, because I would imagine that most of the time he's a reciprocal 2-arm hugger, plus, especially the way she's hugging him. I don't know. What does that one arm mean?
I'm trying to be open, but that window.
And then he gets both arms in there, so maybe he was waiting for this. I didn't mean to hurt you. Okay. Yeah. So I'm guessing you and I will never really know what happened in the previous fight the night before. They're fighting about a fight. They're saying a lot of things that could mean a lot of different things. So we just don't know. It could be highly problematic. It could be not. At the very least, I like this show because that looked real. A lot of the conflicts that we'll see on other shows, 90 Day Fiancé, sometimes I'm like, that looks a little weird, and they'll edit it in weird ways. This looked like legit, did it not? This looked like a real interaction that cameras just happened to be there. So kudos to them and the show for providing us with an opportunity to see a normal conflict between two people that love each other. I don't know if they'll stay together, but it's pretty normal and overall pretty healthy. There were some unhealthy moments, but it could have been so much worse, right?
I didn't mean to hurt you. And either way, I need to make it clear.
And that makes it seem like she was mean the night before. I don't know. Unreasonable. I think she is maybe saying that. That's okay. As long as you apologize and the other person is receptive to that, then, that can work. Sometimes you'll have that. You'll have one person that's more volatile, more easily triggered, but they're also the person who is more overtly loving. So they balance it out. Doesn't mean you have to be with that person, but it could function. All right, well, that does it for that episode. Everyone, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.